Good evening. Moin. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. If you're already tuned in, welcome. It's finally here. You saw the announcement probably. First things first, some rules, small rules for today's stream. The community knows it. Usually my stream is in German, but not today. Today it's in English, so I have to rewire my brain a bit. So forgive me any mistakes. The most English stream in the history of pilot aviation, yeah, for sure. Just so everybody can enjoy it, right? But feel free to post any questions, of course, if you have them in German, which I do understand. But I don't really speak any other languages. So questions in French, Spanish, what have you, I probably won't be able to answer them. Also, yeah, this is, by the way, ChatGPT live translation. You can see how well it works. Sometimes a Deutsche Wort slips through, but anyway. So just keep it to these two languages, please. And if you can, just stick to English. That makes it easier for everybody. Also, as you might have noticed, not that I don't appreciate it, but we don't have alerts enabled for this stream right now, because I do want to post this onto the YouTubes. And while I do appreciate each and every one of you supporting the stream, so thank you, but I will not have the alerts running through the beginning of the stream, right? I think we can all appreciate it to just enjoy the sounds of the mod and not be, have follower alerts in the middle of it. So here it is, looking at it. We are parked here in Palomar in California, much like Citation Max did yesterday, which, he had some troubles with the sim a little bit, unfortunately, not to any fault of the aircraft, just because, the Pilot Edge plugin probably was an updated version that had a little bit of a bug going. So we won't be taking the plane onto a network for the first flight just to demo it, right? This will be an offline flight. But of course, you can take this aircraft onto any network you like, Pilot Edge, WhatsApp, EVAO, if you dare. It is fully compatible. I've done many a flight with this aircraft on the network, so it works just fine. And much like the stream you may have witnessed yesterday, we also start next to the aircraft on the ramp. Sure, I can do that. Let me just a second. Have to open Twitch for that. Or was there a shortcut for it? Nobody knows, probably. Well, at least I don't. Well, that was definitely not the button that I was looking for. Do you happen to know the shortcut, Conti? Was it /mod? Oh yeah, exactly. Yes, that's the one. You get a swart. There you go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, some moderator naming troubles, but there we are. Okay. I will probably just remove the music for now as well. I know that maybe on the outside of the aircraft there won't be as many sounds audible as we might like, but we'll see. So off with the music for now, and let's just raise the volume of the sim so we can all enjoy it together. All right. Here we are, next to the CitationJet by TorqueSim. You might know them from their previous aircrafts like the Cirrus and the Islander. And this is, yeah, that's a good question. This is a pre-release version. Hey Coop, how are you doing? So if anything doesn't work as you would expect it, just please note that both the jet that we are seeing today is in a pre-release version. This is not the final version. And also with the TDS we're going to showcase, also that is in a beta version. And because I like risks, X-Plane is also running the latest beta version, which has been running fine for me. And if you haven't noticed, the release date is this Saturday. So while I don't have an update for the plane installed as of yet, I still am running a release candidate. It will be released on Saturday, right? So on the weekend. So let's switch to a outside view to be able to rotate the camera a little bit to show you the outside of the airplane, as you might. This location exactly, Carpete. So as you might notice, the airframe is pretty interactive with a couple of click spots to add and remove, you know, the pitot heat covers, the engine covers, open the doors, close the doors. And the modeling, I think, is quite nice. It's very immersive, especially if you park it. And, you know, you get to do the piloting thing and cover the plane up and make it basically go to sleep, right? With all the nice little covers you can add to it. I think Max showed this yesterday as well, the nice little placard that you can put into the airplane with the brakes on, and you could also remove it. And I don't think there's a walk-around mode Pilsner. I don't think there is one, maybe not yet. You know, when it comes to features that may not be added to the aircraft in the future, TorqueSim will be happy to answer any and all of your questions, I'm sure, either on their Discord or here in chat if you have them. Yeah, the livery, you don't know? Well, I didn't paint this one, so be careful what you say. This is one of the official included liveries. Maybe that's the point you're making, but probably not. I did not paint this one. It has a dynamic livery system, so the registration you see on the cowlings, that's not baked into the aircraft. You can change it as you like. And how that works, we can take a look at it in a minute. But first of all, let's maybe get into the aircraft. The first thing Pilsner will say is, Maya, fix the cockpit lighting. That's not something TorqueSim can do. And yeah, price is announced. I think it's $85, if I'm not mistaken. But the announcement page has all the details. So, you know, that will come in the future. But yeah, here we are. This is the cockpit. And this is exactly the kind of plane I like to fly. Yeah, English. Yeah, today is an English stream. Exactly, Stony. So I enjoy general aviation planes, as people that are familiar with my stream know, right? Usually the planes I fly are, you know, the biggest plane we regularly fly is the Dash 8, which isn't exactly GA. But usually we fly jets, the Challenger, the Learjet, turboprop, props, stuff like that. So this is exactly the kind of plane I am enjoying. So I'm glad we get to have this in the sim now as an alternative, or, you know, or another business jet next to the default ones we get, next to the Challenger, of course. And I think the only other citation that we have in the sim was from, what's it called? The Citation 2. Carenado, I think, made that one, right? So. And as you can see, the modeling in the cockpit is quite intricate. We have circuit breakers that you can pop. They work. So, you know, it's not just something that you can play with and have it look nice, but they also work. We have an instrument stack that we maybe can take a look at before we start this thing up. So more circuit breakers to the left. An operating placard that, you know, still has some numbers to be added to it. An audio configuration panel, the aforementioned dynamic livery system that, you know, gets you, makes you able to put your own registration into the cockpit so you don't forget all the time, like I do when I constantly switch call signs. An electric panel, lighting panel, anti-icing panel, and then, of course, the electronic HSI and small MFD, let's say. These instruments you should probably all be familiar with. Radar altimeters, HSIs, VSIs, airspeed indicator. One of the stars of the show, next to obviously the one that I'm going to get to, are these two units in the front of the cockpit, which are the TDS GTN750Xi. Engine indicators, as you might recall, if you had the Carenado Citation 2, they look exactly the same. Well, the kinds of information they show exactly the same. These, of course, are modeled specifically for this aircraft. We have standby gyro. We have, as of yet, inoperative weather radar, which is understandable. I don't think there's really any serious weather radar implementation other than maybe the default G1000 or X1000, I should say. So this one is also a thing that will be integrated in the future, much like with the Challenger, right? We don't have a weather radar in the Challenger yet either, but it will come when Laminar Research makes the API available, I'm sure. And then for the Copilot side, a little bit less digital. We just have the analog backup instruments, some more switches, angle of attack indicator. And then obviously we do have yokes, right? They're just hidden by default, but we do have them on both sides. So for this side, I have to hit the click spot, and then we have that one as well. And then in the bottom center, we have the UNS by Amy. A slightly different skin around it, as you might recall this unit from ICAO Level 6 is calling, yeah, exactly. You might recall this unit from the Dash, and I don't know if there are a lot of other planes that have this unit. I know Amy's playing around with this unit in her own, let's call it bastardized King Air mod that she is testing stuff on, which I would love to see in the sim, honestly. You know, the more planes with this unit, the better. We will be using this today in the flight as well, obviously, and alongside with the TDS that we have available. So then we have some, well, fairly common instrumentation or knobs for the heading select, course select, altitude select, which this aircraft luckily does not have an altitude select button that I tend to always forget. It just does it, which is nice. And then an autopilot engage and yaw damper button down here, and then pitch, turn, trim switches that you could use, or use the electronic trim, which is on the yoke. We do have a cabin, of course. How is the workflow entering on the UNS and transferred into the 750? Those are independent units, which is usually the case also in the real aircraft where you might find these kinds of installations. These are just really add-on units. And the way it works is I can demonstrate that during the flight. But this one is driven by the FMS switch for the autopilot, and these ones then take over the role of the nav sources for nav 1 and nav 2. Fairly simple once you get the hang of it. You can use both in tandem. When we come to restrictions, which we'll get to in the flight, you will know why it might make sense for you to have these units installed next to the UNS. Because I think the UNS, as far as I'm aware, in this aircraft, is not coupled to any VNAV capabilities. So you have advisory VNAV, but you don't have coupled VNAV with the autopilot, which means that by default, this aircraft with this installation cannot fly an LPV approach. But if you have the GTN units as well, then that's not a problem. You can switch to the GTN units for the LPV part of the flight and just do the LPV approach like that. Do we have a cabin? Of course, we have a cabin. And viewers of Max's stream yesterday might notice my interior looks a bit different because this aircraft does come on release, at least with 3, I think, different interior designs that you might choose from. This is one with dark seats and some wooden accents on the tables. Everybody can choose what they like, and this is just one of the variants. When we switch liveries later, you will see that there's quite a few differences in the interior design that you are able to pick from. Yeah, I think that's it for the outside and the model. Inspiration Aviation. Hey, did you say that the Universal FMS is being developed for the King Air? Oh, sorry, no. First of all, this stream today is not about any other aircraft. It's just about this one. I just know that Amy has, as you can see, it's in this aircraft, right? The UNS. So it is packageable, licensable by other aircraft manufacturers. And it's a fantastic unit. And my comment was, I want to see this in more aircraft because it's just a fantastic add-on, right? But no, there is not currently anything else next to the Dash and this one that I know of that really has an integrated UNS. All right, let's then close the door, I would say. So let's see. Oh, first the stairs, of course. Otherwise, how are we going to close the door? Then we can close the door up into our head. What's the max ceiling altitude for this aircraft? I think it's 45,000 feet, which you could get up to, but I wouldn't probably recommend it because the Garrett engines we have on this aircraft aren't really designed to give, that much performance. If you fill her up, 41,000 feet. Okay, yeah, it will get a while to get there, yeah, for sure. So yeah, we can close the door. You can see the indication it's now locked, the oxygen masks, are they operational? I think so. There's no crossfill, yes, exactly, between the UNS 1 and GTN. Doesn't exist IRL. Yeah. Like I just mentioned, I don't think that exists in the real aircraft, so yeah, you won't be able to have that. Okay, as you could hear, the sounds are working, so let's just go ahead and start this aircraft up. I will take a look at my sound meters while I do this, and the first thing, of course, we're going to do is engage the battery. slow and silent hum. Let's see. There we go. I was already using the noise cancelling headphones, so there we go. Now we have it. And Dan, about the 750 and crossfill, it is planned from TDS, I think. I think they mentioned that they were looking into getting that working. They don't have it yet. You can, as an alternative, use the Reality XP GTNs, but they for sure don't have crossfill, and I'm not sure if they ever will. Right. Hey, X-Aviation to your camo. How are you doing? Right, so there we go. We can hear it spool up. You can see the annunciator panel lighting up. Everything is coming up to live. And there we are. The avionics are still powered off because it has an avionics switch that I've not yet switched on. Right. Amazing, pretty sure that I won't enter the flight plan 3 times. Well, you don't have to, Dan. First of all, once there's crossfill, you won't have to enter the flight plan 3 times. Second of all, you can always export the flight plans from SimBrief and just import them. And third of all, you don't have to enter the flight plan all 3 units. You can perfectly fly this aircraft with just the UNS or just the TDS, you know, whatever you prefer. Since you live under the flight sim block for the past few weeks, the TDS for X-Plane is not yet released. Right. There is no firm date on the release for the TDS for X-Plane. It will not be released alongside the aircraft, so you know, that's good for your wallets, I guess, if you don't already own it. And but you know, they are working hard at it. I've been in communications with TBS for quite some while about it, and it will come. I just can't tell you a date yet. It also controls the autopilot, Captain Mokolo. Yes, so it'll come soon. Exactly. Okay, so let's switch and flip a few more switches. I did come prepared. Well, let's see if I did come prepared. Let's see if that works. I have this, you know, I have some checklists that we can go through with the CitationJet. I'm not showing you this while I'm doing this the entire time, but I have them, so I can take a look at them. When is the release date, Tim? It will release on Saturday, 5 p.m. local in, 5 p.m. Zulu time, I think, so 6 local, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but Saturday afternoon in Germany. All right. I really like the clickiness of these switches. Just sounds very nice. Who are you, or what happened to Stefan? Well, I'm not sure. But 17 Zulu, yeah, so 6 p.m. local time in Germany if you live in Germany. Bishop, very good evening. Guten Abend, hi. We obviously also have a beacon light, which we would need to, engage before starting the engines. But we could do that right now. And if you look at the outside of the aircraft, there they are. But before we start the engines, of course, we won't be able to do that if we still have the covers on. So let's have the ground crew remove those. Right, the engine covers. These ones, we probably stowed them in the aircraft before we went inside and closed the door. And then we still have the cones and some chocks. And as you can see, you can just click them, or alternatively, you can go up to the main menu and make sure that you didn't miss anything. As you can see, this is the setting menu where you can, put all the ground equipment in place. There will be a ground power unit. You can charge the battery, refill the oxygen, and this is the avionics switch. I won't be changing it for the first time, for the first flight, sorry, but you have the choice of not using any avionics in the cockpit. We'll take a look at that later, other than the UNS, of course. Have a suite of GNS 530s. Dual stack, which do cross-fill the Reality XP ones. You can use the Reality XP GTN750 or the 750Xi from TDS. And then some defaults for like the transponder code where you want to fly VFR, depending on where in the world you are. You can go ahead and set that. There's also other stuff like this nice weight and balance menu where you can, configure the plane as you see fit. For example, put in a little bit more fuel. It's all dynamic. As you can see, the aircraft in the background is moving as I add fuel. You can add passengers, pilot and co-pilot, jump seat passengers, packs in the rear. And you can see the 2 models for the pilots in the aircraft seats right now. I'm not sure if there will be a variation of different aircraft models, or pilot models, I should say. But this one these ones do nicely. Right. All right, cool. So what we can do next is basically go and just start her up for the first time, not to sit on the ground for too long. I'm sure you all are eager to see it fly. If you haven't gotten the chance to watch it yesterday, right? And hopefully there's an option for kilograms in the weight and balance menu. I mean, not that it makes a big difference, to be honest, but yeah, maybe there will be an option to change it. I'm not sure. Sometimes the aircraft manufacturers don't even publish performance handbooks that are not in pounds, but it's an easy conversion, right? So kilograms for the FMS in the UNS1 config module window. Yeah, you can check that out because the UNS does have a config module where you can set something like pause before top of descent, right? You know this from other aircraft. And then for the UNS, it's a bit small in my resolution. I can't make it a lot bigger, unfortunately. But you can put in the registration of the aircraft. This is saved per livery, if I'm not mistaken. Amy, correct me if I'm wrong. The weight units can be configured currently in kilograms. Check database dates for the people that don't want to fly with the live time. You can use the operating system date and just switch the date in the simulator to whatever you like. And then you have the option to save custom waypoints. And there's a basic VNAV, standards screen where you can set up what your default profile should be for this livery. But as I said, there is no coupled VNAV. All right, cool. Let's boot up the GTN units as well, and as well as the UNS. Click. The screens come to life, the TorqueSim screen and logo. The autopilot can follow. It doesn't have a VNAV switch, right? So it does have an approach mode, but there's no coupled VNAV. Only in approach. If using a GTN, you can do that. But yeah, here we are. We have these, and of course we can also power up the UNS, which has a nice boot up animation. It does some self checks and then presents you with the basically initialization interface. And up here we have the GTN750s, as you might know them from the trainer. These are fully updatable with Navigraph, right? You can have the Navigraph information in there, which is known, what we love the TDS for, among other things, and also have the Navigraph charts available to you. These are worldwide, of course, the Navigraph charts next to the navigation information. And as you can see on the map, it's
system test okay.
Yes, thank you. The TAS system test was okay. There's no VNAV and chill, yeah. VNAV and panic, exactly. So we have the safe taxi, which is a fantastic feature to have once you're taxiing, especially at maybe unfamiliar airports. It's also a nice thing to be able to say on Pilot Edge, hey, I'm parked to Civic helicopters, or I'm on transient parking. The charts sometimes don't have these informations, which is nice. Does it have maintenance? I don't think on release it doesn't have a maintenance module. I'm not sure if there will be one in the future. But for now, you are the pilot of the aircraft, not the maintainer of the aircraft. So maybe that will be added, I'm not sure, but on release you are responsible for flying it, and maintenance might come later. So yeah, as you can see, as you cannot see because I'm using my mouse wheel, but this is quite nice. You can use the mouse wheel to move around the map, click and drag, like you might already be familiar with. And also what I really do like is if you have anything where you can scroll through the menu, you could use the mouse wheel here as well, which isn't a thing that works in MSFS, but I really love being able to scroll through, for example, entering an airway and the exit and entry points, just using the mouse wheel to move up and down. No, it's not damaged. There's basically just a bit of reflection on the screen, right? As you can see. Fingerprints, yeah. Is there stuff that could fail if mishandled? I haven't treated it this poorly, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know if the engines could fail if you mistreat them extremely. Not entirely sure. The UNS is also booted up. This screen you might be familiar with if you've flown the dash, right? You just accept it and then you are in there. And yeah, this is what it looks like, right? You have the default pages for flight plan. It knows that we are in Palomar right now. You can also import a route if you have one stored on your disk, which I don't have right now. And then all the different things like the weight and balance, the basic stuff that you can put in here to have it aid you in your fuel calculations. Or if you have these units running, or the GNS indeed, these ones obviously also have a utilities page where you can use the fuel planning page to see what's what. If we did have a flight plan in here, right, we know that we have 360 gallons on board. It uses the aircraft sensors. That works nicely, so it's all in there already. And these ones are, of course, a bit of magic because these fuel sensors are data refs from the aircraft. The way that the GTN and GNS units work is they just read these data refs and show you an accurate information. So there's no simulation of sensor inaccuracies, I don't think. But, to that level of detail, I don't think it's necessarily. But yeah, here we are. All right, cool. If we have everybody on board, we can also switch on the passenger safety sign. There we go. These switches are all set to off right now. The air source can go to both. Isn't anything in X-Plane built from data refs? Yes, Dan, but I don't want to compare this aircraft all the time to other aircraft, but there are aircraft where, they pretend like they don't know exactly. They integrate over time, and there's a bit of, inaccuracy in it, or maybe not pretend is the wrong word, but, it exists. Yeah, have you talked to Toto recently, Dan? Exactly, right? So that does exist. But these ones are add-on integrations anyway, so they don't come shipped with the aircraft, right? So they have to deal with whatever information they have available. Yeah, pills. We also have a standby gyro, which we can obviously power. We can test that it has power, and then we can enable it. So you can wobble it into level flights, so you can use it later on. We have anti-skid. And we have the batteries and the generators engaged. We can do a generator-assisted start. The inverters are still off. The ignition switches are still off. They will come on once we engage the engine starters anyway, right? The beacon light is on, the nav light is on. We have cockpit lighting, which I can show once we are in the air. And then we have a lot of different configuration available here, dealing with the small map, right? Ground speed, time to go, whatever you want to display here, you have this configuration menu. And yes, we do have single queue and dual queue, or the V, whatever you want to call it, alternatives for the flight director. So fear not, if you are a fan of dual queue, you can have that. All right, I will probably blow our ears out if I just start the engines like this, but we can give it a go, and for the second engine we might just tone it down a little bit. So, the fuel boost pumps are on normal as far as I can tell, yes. And we can just set the parking brake, which is already set, and start engine number 1, I would say. Nice. So that does definitely look like a good start. We have fuel flow, we have N1, and we have N2, obviously. And oil pressure looks good. So there we are. Let me just go ahead and for my own sanity, reduce the volume in my own speaker system so I don't get blasted. And one more check. Okay. Let's continue with engine number 2. Yeah, it has a very simple startup. There's not much really that you need to do. Starting the engines, basically the checklist says you can go ahead and put the float and center panel lights to full bright for night operations. Press the start button, advance the throttle, check the ITT, engine instrumentation, fuel, oil, generator, and hydraulic annunciators should go off for the engines that you started. And then DC amperes and volts, and that's it, right? I think so. More stream volume. Let's start the second engine. into rotation. And let's introduce fuel. I can give it a bit more if you like this, no? There we go. Will it suffer compressor stall if I advance this throttle full idle quickly? A question for Coop. I don't want to risk damaging anything. I don't know if I can, but for the first flight I was just want to go from A to B for now. But yeah. You thought this was the original model? Yeah, there was a bit of confusion, Pilsner, because the CJ, the original CJ, even the CJ1, before they got rid of the thrust attenuators, was not certified for single pilot operations. And if we look on the outside, which probably will be very loud, sorry, this aircraft obviously still has the thrust attenuators, which was a reason, as far as I'm aware, that the first edition of this plane was not single pilot certified. I might be wrong. You know, my source is Wikipedia, so but hey, there we are. Okay, both engines are running, and as you can see, the lights are off. The inverter is failing because we have not started it yet, which we will do now. So we can do an ARS alignment, and we get a, you know, get rid of this attitude fail flag. Okay, cool. Autopilot off, yaw damper off, you know, of course. So we need shared cockpit, yeah. Pilsner, yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, my source is Wikipedia. I know the CJ1 Plus, once they got rid of the thrust attenuators, definitely, you know, was a single pilot certified, and maybe this one is as well. Maybe somebody just, you know, put in some bogus information, who knows. Alright, this will take a while, obviously. The radar altimeter is already working. The ignition switches are off. We don't need them on the ground unless we want to start the takeoff roll. Then they are required. And we can go ahead and test the enunciator panel. You can see there's a lot of stuff that can light up here. Battery overtemp, cabin altitude warnings, pressurization obviously is in here, and anti-skid warnings. You know, you get the gist of it. A lot of stuff that it could enunciate you to you. Overspeed, the sound that Snarlybot will be hearing constantly. This is the anti-skid warning, sorry, yeah, but similar. And then we have on the other side the fire warning, engine fire warning. In the end, it's a sim, yeah, I guess. I mean, I fly the Challenger single pilot all the time in the sim, right? Landing gear warning, you don't want to hear that sound. Battery temp is just a small beep. And the AOA, that works as well, right? That's nice. We do have some Bose headset, I guess. That tickles, it does. So we can turn down the volume, right? Up and down. But, you know, don't fool yourself. If you do this and then go to the outside view, it won't be as quiet, right? So don't be surprised if you blow out your ears if you use the Bose headset feature and then go outside. Stick shaker, will it work with the Brunner? That's something I couldn't test, unfortunately. Nobody sent me a Brunner to test. Yeah. The 525 is certified as a single pilot aircraft from CAM, and the 500 series is a two-pilot aircraft that requires an exemption to fly single pilot, at least in the USA. Ah, I see. The old A20. Still a great headset, Dan, but yeah. So I will just put this up to full blast and just reduce the sim volume later on when we're in the outside view, so we don't, you know, ruin our hearing. But hey, here we are. Engines are running. This all looks good. Passenger safety signs are on. We can use the defog and put that to low. And DJ, the weather radar, I mentioned that before, will come later on. It's not included with the base package. Well, I shouldn't say base package. There won't be a pro package. It's not included on release because there is no weather radar. Oh, sorry. Is it? Yeah, the AirUp is the weather radar. Yes, yes, and that will come once we have the weather radar API from Lambda Research. I cannot demonstrate the PA system yet. I think that's one of the features that is not yet in the version of the airplane I'm running. At least I don't think it is. Maybe it is. I think it will come later. I think that's a feature that is not yet in my version. So I might be mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. It will be in the build later today. Yeah, there we go. See. Cool. So I would say for this flight, we will just put in the flight plan kind of right on the sticky note. Well, I cannot, and I don't think it's a feature that's in there yet. I don't know what it's for exactly. I've never tried to write on it, but yeah. So let's just check out the flight that I've planned for today. I want to fly from Palomar to Monterey, which I think is an appropriate flight along the coast of California up north. And we can take a look at that together. There we are. Is the ice indicator in front of the cockpit working? I have not taken this aircraft into icing conditions yet. Maybe also a question for the devs, so I couldn't tell you. I know that we have icing effects on the airframe. I'm not sure about the icing indicator. Alright, so there we are. This is our flight plan that we are wanting to input. Up top, you can see. Let's just go ahead and put that into the UNS. So, flight plan, of course, we have the departure, which is Palomar, and plan is a Pader to Ikaye and then direct. So let's check that out. If you can go, we can go to the menu, go to depart. Planned departure is runway 24, which is number 2. And then it has the departure here and a transition, which we want the IKE transition. Right, easy enough. It's the same one as in the dash. This one actually is a little bit updated or newer. I don't know if those updates will come to the dash version as well. I'm sure they will. It basically has a different 3D model around it because it looks differently in this aircraft as compared to the dash. But yes, it's the same universal program by Amy. Hey, the official TorqueSim account, nice. Alright, so this is the departure. This is obviously not the end of the flight plan, so if we flip through it, after IKE we want to go direct to Tesea. So, Tesea, enter, which yes, this is the waypoint I'm looking for. And again, thanks for the gifted subs. Just as I mentioned, I'm not running any alerts during this stream, so we can just focus on the aircraft for now, but I appreciate it, thank you. And then scatter. From scatter, the next waypoint is wiggle and then direct to Monterey. So wiggle, W-I-G-G-L, or Whiskey India Golf Golf Lima, you know, I can pretend like I'm a pilot as well. And then Monterey, which is Kilo Mike Romeo Yankee. Kilo Mike Romeo Yankee. Alright, there we go. There are approaches into Monterey as well, obviously, which I haven't set one up yet. We will do that once we're in the air and check that out, which, you know, what the weather will dictate what we're going to do. But this looks fine for a flight plan. Cool. We can do the same up here, right? If we enter the flight plan, it will just be able to follow along. So if you are familiar with the GTN, you know, how you operate it is fairly simple. It's a touch screen. So you can just load the procedure. The runway will be selected for you, depending if, you know, the departure only goes out of one runway or not. Here we have a choice. And then the same thing, IKE transition. There is a chart for it, of course. You can open that up, have the chart presented to you immediately. It's a bit pixelated, but you can zoom in, right? So it's fine. And then there we are, and that's the departure. So, is there a plan mode on the MFD? Yes, there is. We can take a look at that later on. Anyway, we are here. We are loading the departure. On a heading of 245 to 2,300 feet or above, and then vectors to Gwyn, which we will be our own ATC for today. So we will vector ourselves once we reach the altitude that is safe, and then maneuver ourselves direct Gwyn. That's not the entirety of the flight plan, of course. We have 3 more waypoints. Tesea, which, depending on, you know, there's some fast find feature. So Tesea, then Scooter, and after Scooter we have Wiggle. Wiggle, there we go. And after we get direct Monterey Regional Airport. Cool. As I mentioned, there's no crossfill yet, so it's not in here anyway at the same time, but usually what I do is on this side, I put it onto the traffic map, which does work. You might notice by default, if you look at this cockpit, if we didn't have these two screens here, there is no traffic display, as far as I'm aware, if you are just using the version with the UNS-1 and no other avionics other than the radio panel. So, right. Oh, maybe I mistook Dan. What I was talking about was basically this map feature. And if we zoom out, if you go to the FMS mode, go to the map, we have this, right? And we can zoom out and with the map range. Oh, I accidentally popped that up. So we have this option to at least show the routing on the PVD. Are there custom failures or the possibility to fail if you exceed some limitations too much? I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you, unfortunately. I'm not the biggest user of pre-programmed failures. With most aircraft I fly, I have random failures. I leave that in the default settings, so the mean time between failures is set to realistic or what have you, but I don't trigger them manually. I don't know if this aircraft on release will have failures that you can trigger, other than the ones obviously, you know, that are in the failure menu for X-Plane. But bespoke ones, I'm not sure. Alright, so we have all of that. As I mentioned, we have the option to switch the autopilot queuing between the V-bar and the dual queue. We have the departure in here. We can take a look at it before we go taxiing out, and then let's get this show on the road. So this is the part of the departure, and we want to go to IKE. And if you go out of Carlsbad, McClellan, Palomar, then we leave on the heading of 245, climb to 2,400 or above, sorry, 2,300 or above, and then go direct Gwin, and then join the departure via Pader, however you want to pronounce that, and then IKE. Alright, cool. I think that's everything we need to prepare here. Let me just take a gander at the small checklist I have in front of me. Before taxiing, we want the air conditioning, fans, temperature controls set as required, which, you know, whatever you feel. The lights need to be as required, which we will need to flip on the taxi lights. Avionics power switches need to be set to on, which they are, of course. The AC inverter switch needs to be checked that it's enabled. The passenger safety switch needs to be on. The pressurization switch needs to go to the altitude that we want to climb to. So if we take a look back here in the OFP, we know that today's flight will, well, we'll try to go up to flight level 400. I'm not sure actually if that's the greatest idea in the world, so maybe we'll just keep it down to 360 or something like that. But yeah, we want to go quite a ways up. And the entire distance, if we can see, the air distance is 400 miles. So we can try going up to flight level 400, you know, see where we can get to with the amount of passengers and fuel we have loaded. And if it doesn't work out, we can just stay lower. So that's fine. Good luck, exactly. So let's set the altitude that we want to have the cabin at. Let's just say, I'm not entirely sure which is the appropriate altitude for the cabin to set if we want to climb up to flight level 400, but it will surely tell us if you are exceeding the, you know, altitude for the cabin and the max differential pressure is exceeded. So let's just put this to 7,000 feet cabin altitude. This is all set to normal auto for the air conditioning, and this is all okay. Realistic curve. Maybe 400 miles is not a short flight, but yeah, it gives us time to check out the aircraft. Right, if we are in FMS mode, we can already see that it has the necessary waypoints in here, the 2,300 vertical limit as according to our flight plan, which we have in the UNS. And then obviously, not just in the UNS on the legs page, where do we have it? Oh, we're already there. So, you know, the heading of 245 until 2,300 feet, and then vectors for direct going. That's fine. Alright, anything else we need to take care of? The pressurization is set, the electric elevator trim is checked, and we have it set in the takeoff position, I think, yes. We have a clearance, we have the FMS program, and we have the charts. The takeoff data, I will just basically eyeball it Anything above 110 is fine once we can start to rotate. There are tables that come with the aircraft, but I don't have a weight and balance method to conveniently calculate a V1 for us right now. Sorry for the dumb question, there's no dumb questions here, but if the aircraft has an MF, FMS and ND, why the TDS? Yes, redundancy, and also to be able to do LPV approaches, which the UNS in this aircraft isn't able to do because we don't have coupled VNAV. Okay, good, everything is set. We have the standby gyro, so we can just go ahead and taxi. We want to go to runway 24, and this is where the safe taxi comes in. So here we go. Let me just start something that I haven't started yet. All right. The German Windows. All right. So if we're gonna want to go to runway 24, we are here on the non-movement area. We can just taxi on our own. Once we reach Alpha, we would have to ask ATC for a taxi clearance, and we'll just taxi Alpha Alpha 1 runway 24. The TDS is an extra add-on, exactly like it is in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It is in preparation to be released for X-Plane 12. You know, you can look forward to when that happens, because as far as I can tell, it's just better when compared to the RXP in every aspect. Personal opinion. Because it can do proper GNS steering and all this stuff that you know, we don't get yet. I don't know if it will ever be added in the Reality XP one. Which, you know, I keep telling or talk about this in my stream. I really like the RXP. It was the first add-on we had available to really give us the Garmin training experience, which is fantastic. I just wish there was a little bit more support for it. Anyway. So we have cockpit lighting. If it's too dark for us with the current situation with the X-Pit cockpit lighting, we can just turn this on. These are all individually, you know, you can turn them up, turn them down, however you feel. It looks very nice, I think. Looks very immersive, especially at night. And for flying, I think I need my stick. I don't have a yoke at home. I fly with a Cytec X56 and then some Whirlpool throttles, which I really like. So we need to set the flaps for departure, which we can do with the flaps lever down here, of course. And yeah, we don't have a nose wheel steering switch. We have the anti-skid enabled. We have the parking brake set, and I think we can just get rolling. This is the same type rating in the complete CitationJet family, right? Like the CJ4? Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not a type-rated pilot in any business jet, so... Alright, let's get going. Taxi light on, parking brake released. Give it a little bit of thrust, because the thrust attenuators basically, you know, let's have them move and get going. Clear right, clear left. Just need X-Plane 12 to play with this one. Exactly. This obviously has the GPS position of our aircraft, so we can see the moving map once we taxi around the airport, which is really nice. Of course, there's always helpers. You can, you know, have the Navigraph charts up next to it, or use some of the myriads of add-ons for X-Plane 12, which lets you display an airport map. But for this, we don't need it. Palomar traffic, November 525, Papa Delta, taxiing to holding point runway 24 via Alpha and Alpha 1. This is Visual XP, yes. It hasn't failed me yet, so I'm not sure. I disabled the cloud script for this one because it led to some weird results. I feel a bit sorry for other sims. As soon as this is out and the TBM, you do not see yourself flying anything else than X-Plane 12. Understandable. Alright, I will just lower the volume for sim a little bit to go to the outside view. It's still loud as hell, I know, but hey, there we are. It has nice attenuation to the sounds, you know, once you go around the aircraft, as you can hear. And the taxi lights, of course, work as they should. Okay, once in the cockpit, we can just go ahead and turn off the sounds again. There we are. No, I think he is talking about the newest beta Bishop for X-Plane 12. I know I'm texting very slowly. It was just for the purposes of showing off the aircraft, right? So we don't have to move this slow. I know, Buse. I just wanted to give us a chance to look at it from the outside. Oh, da will. Palomar traffic, November 525 Papa Delta, lining up and departing runway 24 Palomar traffic. Alright, let's engage the landing lights, the pitot static and the anti-collision lights. So, flight instruments are checked, taxiing, that all works. For before takeoff, anti-ISDR systems are as we require them. The passenger seats are all fine, the tables are flipped up. And we have the air source select knob on both. The flaps are set, the trim is set, thrust attenuator switch is on, auto ignition is on. Zack, zack. pitot static heat switch are on, anti-ISDR system, collision lights. Okay. Even on the table. Ah, okay, yeah, we can of course enable the transponder flying drill. We are offline, so it doesn't really matter. But let's go ahead and squawk 2000. And we can go 525 Papa Delta. There we are. Flight directors to go around. Which one? Yeah, German accuracy, exactly. Let's go. Thrust is set. The overheat warning is normal. Airspeed is alive. Very bumpy. 110. Let's rotate. Off we go. Positive rates. Gear up. Trim, 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 trim. Climb 2300. Switch to nav and vertical speeds. Trim a bit more, reduce the vertical speed to 2000 feet per minute, and speed is checked, flaps up. Can we reduce the thrust a little bit? And enable the autopilot. Autopilot on. 2300 and higher, we can go direct Gewinn. So direct to Gewinn, which is number 2. Enter. And there we go. How are you controlling vertical speeds? You can either do it with these up and down wheels, or conveniently I have one thing bound to a switch on my thrust, which is a rotary. Because it feels weird fiddling, you know, down here. It's not as easy in a virtual cockpit as it is in real life. Alright, there we go. We can go up with the altitude select to flight level 400, which is, you know, what we planned. Another thing, talking about German accuracy, that we didn't do is we didn't set the correct QNH. I don't think 3020 is correct, but hey, there we go. And then we can just do this and have a nice, calm and quiet experience in the cockpit. Accelerating through 220 knots, and I think I will do what I promised earlier. Just reduce the sim sounds a bit. And not all the way down, of course, so that we can still hear it, and then we can get rid of this. Yeah. The ATA 5.3 can hold more than you think. It's more the wing engines and gear that don't like the bumps. Okay, and since this is not synced, we need to tell it here as well that we're going direct Gewinn. right? So it can still track our progress. It has indicated airspeed mode. It doesn't have flight level change down. But yeah, we are in the air, following the departure and going through 7,000 feet, presumably. We do have these modes for the autopilot, which are available to us. Heading mode, nav mode, approach mode, back course, obviously, altitude hold mode, vertical speed, and indicated airspeed mode. Conveniently, we do have an angle of attack indicator here, which lets us know, if we're really messing stuff up. And we still have some performance available to us, which we might want to use. But first of all, let's turn off the landing light and the after takeoff checklist and climb checklist is landing gears up, flaps up, ignition set to normal and normal. Engine synchronizer, we can turn this on now. Yep, on. Yaw damper is on. Passenger advisory switch can be set as required. It's nice and calm, so I guess we can set this to off. Pressurization should be checked. We're climbing, so that's fine. Differential pressure is currently 0. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see when it starts pressurizing. Because this is all set to auto. And hopefully we don't have a leak. But the AC is working and the door is locked. So it should work fine. If I'm mistaken, please somebody let me know. I don't want to die in this aircraft. Alright, so we have nav steering, we have altitude select, vertical speed, 2000 feet per minute, currently at 240. We can certainly climb a bit faster once we are, we are still low, so that's fine. Give it a bit more oomph. I think the limit is 103.4 and 1. And then for the autopilot, actually, you can only, or should only use the autopilot if you are slower than 263 indicated airspeed. I guess the autopilot isn't certified for going any faster, so if you're approaching the red line speed, you should not be using the autopilot. Not that it does matter for sim pilots, but hey. Yeah, it does really look awesome. I agree. Ah, okay, the differential pressure is building now. I don't know if that's the hissing sound that we're hearing. Oh, you can actually change the direction of these vents. It's fun. Okay. The AC goes in and out with this build. Ah, okay. So if I just disable the air conditioning, I guess we get rid of this hissing noise, right? It might get a bit warm in the cabin, but hey, who cares? I personally dislike one decision. You would have preferred them putting a cover on the slot instead of adding an MFD for the weather and then covering it with a sticker saying well, it's actually a thing that is fairly common in real-world aviation, right? Things go inoperative all the time. And putting a sticker on it and checking the minimum equipment list if you are still legal to fly is a very normal thing in general aviation and airline flying indeed. So. So yeah, here we go. Oh, the sky is flickering a bit. Not sure why that is. Explain weather for you. Let's just look down for now until we pass in a direction that isn't flickering anymore. Here we go. STC is incoming. Yeah, I see. The release date is this Saturday, Bisno. I think it's 5 p.m. Zulu, whichever time that is in your country, you have to figure that out. And I think the price is around $85. And the TDS will not be released alongside it, which is a separate product anyway, but just to mention it again. This will not be available on release. If you have the Reality XP 750, obviously that's already available. You can use that. That's not a problem, right? Yeah, and we can just track the route because the GTN will happily follow the flight plan and sequence it accordingly. Gotta drop the kids at the grandma's this weekend then, yeah. And yeah, for the second flight, maybe we can take a look at using the Reality XP 530s, which, you know, look at this cockpit. I mean, how could you not put a 530 in this cockpit, right? Yeah. But yeah, first let's get this baby to Monterey and take a look at the weather, obviously, later on, once we are en route. We can set up some views. We won't stay this far away from land the whole time. So if you look at the flight plan again, you can see that, you know, we're basically flying past, what is this, Seal Beach? Yeah. The LA area, which we will be high and above of, and then, you know, passing Burbank over to Ikegi, and then up here to Monterey via Wiggle. Oh no, not the trusty X-Plane 530. That stuff gives me nightmares. I'm sorry to say. Yeah, luckily we have a 67 knot headwind, which, yeah, I should have checked the weather and flew the other way around, but hey, okay, you win some, you lose some. You actually like the 530. I do like the 530 as well, just not the one that ships with X-Plane. Flying drill, yeah. For everybody that uses Linux, you will love this airplane because this is a first, I think, for TorqueSim. This aircraft runs natively on Linux because I think the gizmo that it uses is fine with the Linux now, the new version of it. Yeah, you just can't use, as far as I'm aware, any Garmin trainer products. So I don't think those are available if you are running Linux. Alright, let's switch to standard, which is a thing we should do above 18,000 feet. So, there we go. Flight level 201, 202, climbing 400, hopefully, fingers crossed. Oh, it's completely being phased out. Okay, so it's an entirely different version of software protection, copyright protection. Okay. Tomorrow you have your first IRL encounter with a 430. Well, luckily you can train with them already, right? In the Seneca, for example, you have the option to fly with a 430. X-Aviation website, not the X-Plane store. Come on, Disno. It's on X-Aviation. It's one of the Take Command series airplane. Yeah. Wrong link? Well, well, well. Shame on you, Bisno, suggesting the X-Plane org store. Yeah, alright. Let's see if we can set up a wing view for later on. I won't forget about the airspeed, I promise, at least for now. I'm trying not to forget about the airspeed. Sorry for the slow camera movement, next time I'll move faster. But we can set up a nice wing view over here, obviously. Have that. And then turn around and have one over here. While we're at it. There's the link, thanks. Yeah, so I can use a Marcus Brownlee phrase. So I've been using this aircraft for a couple of months now. And I'm really enjoying it. Everybody that follows my stream knows that, you know, we talked about this aircraft a lot. Ever since we were able to share screenshots of it, I've been posting screenshots to different Discords. So I'm now happy that we can finally see it in action. Yeah, by the way, tomorrow, another release of an aircraft. You know, not the topic of today's stream, but today Captain Iceman will release the Seminole PA-44. So that's also very good for us GA pilots, right? Alright, there we go, 190 indicated, which is something I will want to stick to for now. So indicated airspeed mode, we can put the nose down a bit, 190. Well, up a bit actually, to slow down, but there we go. And yeah, with this amazing headwind, our ground speed is 208 knots. So there we go. Doc Frantic, hey, good to see you. But you know, it won't deter us. We can actually look at the windy report. Maybe we can figure out what's going on. I thought about it a lot today. What I didn't think about was, you know, what are the winds aloft? Obviously. Like a real pilot, I didn't do a weather briefing. Kidding. Alright, so what's going on the west coast of the US? Well, low down it looks good. Well, actually no. Actually, this is what we are fighting against. Luckily in Monterey it looks like the storm isn't going all the way down to here, but up here it looks at Eureka and San Jose and San Francisco it looks pretty windy. And if we can look at the altitude for the winds, here we go. Flight level 390. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess we picked the wrong day to fly in that direction. Anyway. $83 knots. No risk, no fun. Yeah, well, it's just not really a risk. It's just slow, right? What is this Seminole you're talking about? B777 is basically, if you know the Piper Seneca, the Seminole is, you know, also a twin prop with counter-spinning engines. Basically twin prop trainer aircraft used in a lot of parts of the world to get pilots certified for twin engine, multi-engine pistons. Okay, let's move this up then to 103, roughly, to get the most out of it. And this is basically the max headwind probably that we're gonna encounter, so hey, there we go. Oh, sorry, you meant what add-on? Oh, Captain Iceman Sim is the developer of that. But yeah, I will take a look at that in the stream tomorrow, right? So if you have any questions about that, just stop by tomorrow, we can take a look at that. Tomorrow, let's focus on what we have in front of us here. We've been waiting long enough. So yeah, outside air temperature minus 30 degrees right now. We can actually use this tool, or indeed the FMS from Amy, to figure out, you know, sensor information status. Like, for example, this stuff, right? Calibrated airspeed of 190, yeah, which I set. Density, altitude, true airspeed. And then our ground speed, which is just a measly 217 knots in the climb, right? And a headwind component of 82 knots. That's spicy. This here is, I think, advisory VNAV as well. Well, this aircraft doesn't have coupled VNAV anyway, but I know that the GTN does come with VNAV and alternatively VPATH, depending on how your aircraft is configured. This one currently has the VNAV toggle available. And as I said, we can look at all the charts, right, for Monterey, for example, which is nice to have if you don't want to look down at the AviTab or what have you, right, which is always possible, of course. But I think this is a nice feature. It's sort of heads down. You can't really use it here because I think this is just too small. But that's the same in the real unit, right? You have to kind of lean in a bit. Okay, the weather up here is quite nice, I have to say. The Garmin stopped servicing the 430s. Yeah, it's a shame, but you know, that's the way it goes. Flying drill. Obviously, there's more modern avionics. I mean, if I was offered a plane and they told me, hey, do you want a 530 or do you want a 750Xi? I know in the sim, you know, sometimes I prefer the 530, but in a real aircraft, I probably also would go for this. It's just way more modern, way more convenient to use. I mean, as a VFR pilot, especially, the movie map is very nice. You know, it has all the visual reporting points. I think those points aren't even in the database for the 530. The Genius series doesn't have those. Yeah, so this is a great VFR tool as well. Ah, the 430 is in the plane you will use your night VFR training on. Okay. Yeah. Having a 750Xi in our Robin game changer. Yeah. FTO Nord. Yeah, the one that we have the livery for, right? For the Warrior, I think. Yeah, it must be the Warrior. think it has FTO Nord on it. Okay, so what can we see to our right, actually? Once we're in the air, we can take a look at... Okay, it's Long Beach, and LA will be coming up. The clouds may prohibit us from viewing it. And do tell if, you know, the plane is a bit too loud still. I can turn it down for sure, it's not a problem. I think maybe I will just turn this down as it was before, so there we go, should still be fine. Can you maybe show the baggage compartment? Yes, I won't be able, hopefully, to open any doors mid-flight, but we can certainly take a look at the interior some more. I mean, the airplane is basically cruising up 1,000 feet per minute at flight level 330, so, you know, we still have some oomph left, but not a lot. Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, it comes with 3 different interiors by default, which is, you know, this one, there's a plain white one, and I think the other one is a red one. I'm not sure entirely. I haven't checked them all out, but yeah. You have the default features, you know, like foldable tables, of course. I mean, of course, I say it's not, of course. It's available here, so yeah. There is this, and let's see if this aircraft is worth buying. Ah, yeah, I think we can buy this aircraft, right? This is... Press once to flush. Yeah, this works. How are you liking the plane? Is it comparable to the Challenger in terms of flight modeling and handling? Well, it's a completely different plane, right? It flies completely differently to the Challenger. I don't think this is fly-by-wire. Is it on the same level? Again, quite hard to quantify. I don't really hand fly the Challenger a lot. I do fly this aircraft a lot. It's a joy to hand fly. It works really nicely, I think. It doesn't feel as heavy as the Challenger, so to speak. But again, it comes down to personal preference, I think. It is very hard to beat the Challenger in most aspects, right? This is just an entirely different plane. It's slower, different style of flying, different type of missions you want to fly with it. So, yeah. And I'm not sure what else will be added down the line, right? Is that no, that's basically an X-plane thing. I don't need to highlight it the entire time, but X-plane, as you can see, has some reflections all over the place, right? And for the reflections, it basically uses a very, very low resolution texture, which you can see in this version of the interior a lot more than in different ones, because this is just a very highly reflective surface. But it comes down to the resolution of the cube maps that they use for providing the screen space reflections, I think, and it's just not high resolution, so it looks a bit weird. Yeah, but it's just a reflective surface bit, basically. Dan, he wasn't talking about which systems have higher fidelity or what have you, right? It's just how it feels to fly. Right? And I really like flying this one. It's very, very forgiving. I think it is very easy to land. I say that now. Watch me land later. I mean, you can tell me then. It's fun to fly patterns in it. Obviously, it works a bit better if you have something like Track IR enabled, right? Because this, I mean, I set some views, and I also have a view here and here and here, but this isn't really convenient for flying a traffic pattern because it requires a hand to push buttons. And is a much more simple plane in terms of system complexity to begin with anyway. Not to say that it's easy to implement, just saying that the Challenger obviously is a highly automated, fully RNP 0.5 rated machine, which this one certainly isn't, right? So it's a different kind of airplane, and I think it fills a gap when it comes to business aviation and general aviation that I wanted, something to fill that gap for a long time. Well, when it comes to flying he asked, I think. Yeah. Is it comparable to the Challenger in terms of flight modeling and handling, is the question, right? Yeah. And I think, you know, two different kinds of airplanes. If I ask you, is the A320 comparable to, I don't know, the Challenger? You probably would also say, I don't know, different plane, handles completely differently. How would you define comparable? It does not have lip turbine. I don't know if it will ever have lip turbine. Maybe not. It certainly does its job, right? But it has been. I know that it was in the talks in the beginning while we were still, you know, watching over the development process. Right now, it doesn't feature it. Maybe it will feature it at some point in the future. I'm not sure. That's for TorqueSim to decide. I'm not saying I wouldn't love it, right? It does have lip radio. Not that, yeah, mostly not that we could tell the difference. You know, sure, you could maybe look at the startup sequence and, you know, tell some differences and say, oh, as a real aircraft mechanic, I think the N1 should do this and that. But yeah, as a sim pilot, as a non-type-rated pilot in this kind of aircraft, I mean, nobody asked these questions for any aircrafts in MSFS, right? Most of them have default airplane systems for the engines. So, yeah, it would be nice, but, you know, it's certainly not a deal breaker for. It shouldn't be a deal breaker for anyone anyway. Yeah, I think they really put a lot of effort into this plane, and it shows. It is very customizable. It is very flexible. It is very nicely modeled, and I hope that they will, you know, give it the attention it deserves after release, like with every other TorqueSim plane. Yeah. A labor of love, yeah, you could say that. Yeah. You know, it's this rotation, so get into the spirit, right? You're getting nowhere fast, but enjoy doing it. Alright, take care and have a safe trip home. So things about the TDS that are different. You can maybe notice these blue arrows, talking about the TDS. This is the so-called emergency feature, or safe glide, whatever you want to call it. It basically tells you that, you know, would you encounter an emergency right now, depending on the aircraft you configured, and you can see, you know, it knows we are a dual-engine business jet. It would recommend you to basically, if all engines were to, you know, fail, to go to Point Mugu. I know it's a military base, but, you know, in emergency, anything goes. We have a lot planned post-release that we want to add. This is just version 1.0 here. There will be many more versions. Cool. Yeah, maybe I can, if you have the time, maybe I can, if you have answers, you don't have to answer everything, obviously, but do you plan, I mean, obviously it's not even released yet, and people are already asking about, hey, what's next, what's next? You know, first do the release, figure out if there are any issues that are still there. Hopefully there will be none. I certainly am enjoying flying this aircraft tremendously, but I'm sure you have in the back of your head some form of a roadmap that you want to follow. Is there anything you want to share, or is it just, okay, let's release this first and then we can talk more about this later on? Ideally, I would have loved to have someone on Discord to just have, you know, jump in on a Discord call. Don't have to do this unprepared, right? But it's always nice to have a dev on the stream to talk to them about the aircraft that we're showing off, because it's far easier answering chat's questions like that. But yeah, interested to know if there's anything that you can already share that, you know, you want to take the direction of implementing in the future. Look at that. Nice and puffy clouds today. In terms of performance, I'm the wrong person to ask, honestly. If you look at the description for my stream, you will know that basically whatever I throw at this machine, usually it can take it fine. I can tell you that it runs really smoothly. I haven't had any issues, you know, with the aircraft in terms of performance. Certainly there's other aircraft where I feel that a lot more, right? I don't use any NVIDIA filters. What I do use is something called Visual XP, which, you know, helps with the clouds. And a small Lua script, which I've linked in my Discord. I can look up the link later, which adjusts the atmospheric colors a little bit to make the sky a little bit bluer and less green during sunset and sunrise. But yeah. And one of the magic things that I'm able to do with, you know, a lot of graphics power available is to render the sim in 4K and then downscale it for the stream, so we get less jaggies. You know, the lines just look nice and smooth. So that's certainly a thing that I'm enjoying, and I realize that not everybody can do that. A big ticket item we want to add is a better form of consequences for mishandling the system's engine. See, those questions were asked earlier. Not a full maintenance mode like the SR per se, but something to enhance that or add more continuity between flights. Yeah, yeah, that was asked before. Okay, so cool to hear that you wanna, you know, punish the pilots for really not taking care of the aircraft. Speaking of, we are almost at flight level 400, and you know, as I mentioned before, taking this up to flight level 410 is a task. Especially if you're not lightweight. You know, we're climbing basically anything between 300 and 400 feet per minute, which isn't really anything that, you know, as per the regulations, you should be able to pull at least, I think, 500 or 700 feet per minute in a dual turbine aircraft. If, you know, ATC asks you, hey, climb flight level 400, and you're only able to do it at 300 feet per minute, then you should maybe, you know, basically tell them unable. Because it will take forever. Not present in the UNS 1. Okay, I have to look at the question again. I didn't see that one. Oh, that must have been a long ways up. Any data link capabilities? Never mind. Okay, there we are. Data link capabilities. I saw you mention it, Amy, in the Discord, that some real-life units have it as an option, but yeah, getting the documentation must be a pain. Yeah, and making things up is always a bad time in the sim. Because people that do have access to the real one will notice, and they will put you on blast for it for some reason. Yeah, and that's the thing I mentioned earlier, exactly. If you don't want to, you know, put in the entire flight plan if it's longer, by hand, which, let's be honest, this machine has a range of about 1,500 miles at best. How long are you gonna, you know, how long are your routes gonna be? Probably not that long, right? Yeah. But you know, Amy, on Twitch, there's all kinds of people. Whenever I fly the Dash, sometimes Spencer stops by, and he used to be a real-world Dash 8 pilot. Provided me with a bunch of documentation, which I really appreciate, but obviously not anything about the data link, I don't think. But you know, those people are around a lot, so yeah. But yeah, you can certainly load in routes that you save from, for example, SimBrief. They have the option to pay Universal much money. Yeah, exactly. You know, if you have enough money, anything goes, right? Yeah, sorry for the jarring experience. Typically, when I fly the sim... Oh, let's just go ahead and do that now, actually. I'll just store this. Typically, I have a compressor going, right? So, if you go from inside to outside, it's roughly on the same level and not as wild of a noise difference. It just doesn't work very well if you have very clicky switches. Because with clicky switches, those clicks get compressed as well. So. Another question for the devs. Where is the best way to source weight and balance information for this specific aircraft? Would like to import that info into ForeFlight or for weight and balance. You mean something else than the weight and balance sheet we have? Or you mean the raw numbers, the stations, the millimeters, the moment arms? Or what are you looking for exactly? It's a bit too quiet now. I can just turn it up a little bit. There we go. Empty weight default center of gravity. There's documentation on the internet floating around. Let me see if I have that saved. Let's see. That's definitely the wrong application. Why? I'm not enjoying the recent update for iOS. Every icon turned dark/black and it all looks different, so ugh. Yeah, well, anyway. Okay, because I downloaded something recently. What is this? Ah, okay, well, maybe this helps. You can pull these things directly from Flightplanning with Playmaker. Well, okay. I don't know if this helps, because it also depends probably on the exact configuration of the aircraft. But I think this documentation was linked on the TorqueSim Discord, you know, which has the seats for this kind of configuration, ramp weights, and you know, you can fill this out and calculate your center of gravity. Yeah, I don't know if this helps. Take a screenshot if you want, but yeah, this is one thing that I have that I haven't used yet, but it's available. There's tons of documentation on the TorqueSim Discord. Yeah. All right, look at that. We made it to flight level 400. Time to speed up as much as we possibly can. And the headwind actually lessened, 66 knots now, so ground speed of 306. That's much nicer. I think we do have information about the remainder of the flights. Let's see if I can remember. I mean, Amy is here, but don't spoil me. I can probably figure this out. We do have information about the flight plan and when we're gonna arrive, so let's see. I thought this was either in flight plan or in nav. Oh, this is nav data. This is definitely not it, I don't think. This is basically the database. Flight plan, menu. This is the compressed. That's not what I want. There's a lot of flight plan, menu, PPOS to waypoint. There we go. I was almost there. So there we go. So we can check the present position to Monterey. That's 30 minutes. I guess that's direct to, right? This is not really the cumulative time for the flight, but basically from the present position, if I were to fly direct Monterey, it's 30 minutes. But if I fly, obviously, a half circle to get there, then this doesn't show me it, presumably. But hey, there's always options. We still have trip planning with the present position to Monterey and point to point. And this tells us that it's 31 minutes. So close enough. That's cumulative. Okay, so it is cumulative. Very good. It assumes the current true airspeed the whole way. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It doesn't have the VNAV smart descent planning. It doesn't know about the winds. Yeah, but that's good enough. I think that's the same way this works. So speaking about the United States, we all know that getting into an airport is basically a long arrival. So since we're 160 nautical miles away, we can assume that we're probably already near an arrival. So do we have any stars? Monterey doesn't have any stars. Okay. Do we have any approaches? Of course we do. The weather for Monterey says for Pilot Edge, we can just cheat a little bit, use this ATIS. The runway 28 left and right is in use for visual approach. Well, sure. The weather 300 at 6, 10 statute miles visibility, scanner 2500, scanner 3300, 14 degrees, nice. Altimeter 3000, AO2, SLP 172, sure. Okay, cool. So info kilo and runway 28 left or 28 right. For planning purposes, we can just take a look at the flight plan, go all the way down to Monterey, waypoint info, and then the preview. And you can see, if we zoom in, we should not use 28 right. This is a very short runway. We should be using 28 left, which is the proper long runway. And as I'm not live. Well, the stream hasn't been on for that much time, because we started at 9 p.m. local time, 8 p.m. Zulu. Checking out the TorqueSim CitationJet. In English, please. Exactly. So let's take a look at the... So we are arriving via Wiggle. So let's see what kind of approach we have. We have the RNAV LPV, which we cannot use. 28 left LP plus V, advisory VNAV, which we cannot use with vertical guidance with the UNS, but we can certainly do it here. Right, and the transition is Wiggle. That's nice. That's really good. We have a chart for it. Let's take a look. It's very nice. I mean, I've been using it for quite some time. If we... Oh, cool. That's really nice. Look. If we arrive via Wiggle, initial approach fix, then we don't have to do the procedure turn. We can just go Wiggle, XR, IGEO, Hugon, and then, you know, it doesn't... The final approach path, the final approach track doesn't coincide with the runway heading, so, you know, we'll come in at an angle and then have to do a little bit of a visual adjustment at the end, but hey, that's fine. Let's do that. We can see that the minimum Enroute altitude is 5,100 here. So let's see. When we are at XR, we want to be 5,100, and then at IGEO 4,100. What is the name of the departure airport? We flew out of Palomar, I think, right? Let's just load this in. So yeah, our departure airport was McClellan Palomar. 2 GTNs, immediate buy, yeah. So yeah, and obviously we also can enter this here, I think. So at least, you know, even though we might not be able to have VNAV, we have the arrival here for 28 left, which is runway number 3. There is no star, sure. And then we want to do the RNAV Yankee 28 left. The Golf stands for... I don't know. Is that glide advisory? I mean, you know, it is an LP plus V, but that is Garmin terminology. It doesn't really exist in any other avionics system. GP is required. Well, of course. I would assume for an RNAV approach GPS would be required, yes. But I guess sometimes ILS can also have GPS required. Anyway, we want to do this one. We are Wiggle, sure. Yes. And then we can do the VNAV thing. And if we go to the flight plan page, we have Wiggle. Go next. At Wiggle, we want to be at 5,100 exactly. And then we can do VNAV, target VNAV speed, 2,000 feet per minute. Enter. And then we have a top of descent in 2 minutes. The /D means ILS-DME. Yeah, that's true. I know that one. I just didn't know what the letter G stood for. Okay, 2 minutes until we go down by 2,000 feet per minute. Let's zoom by one more time. Nice. These are technically some RNAV, also there are some RNAV approaches that don't require GPS. DME is considered enough. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, sure, that's an option. X-Plane is really treating us today. Some low-hanging clouds here over the California Bay. Moving up all the way to Monterey. And I'm not sure if this is implemented yet. I know we do have technically a control wheel steering switch on the yoke. I'm not sure if that's in yet. Hence, I'm typically using, you know, this control down here to just adjust the pitch for descent. And yeah, top of descent in 6 miles. The message is blinking, obviously. top of descent alert. I don't know if there's a way to configure some audible alert. I mean, I was in the outside view. Maybe there is one. I just didn't notice it because I was, you know, on the outside of the aircraft. But have some sort of beep to let me know, hey, dude, wake up. Okay, let's not switch the baro around, but actually turn down the altitude select to 5,100. And advisory VNAV, by the way, is a thing that obviously we have here as well. If you go into the flight plan and go all the way down to wiggle, we can also say, hey, at wiggle, we want to be at 5,100 MSL. And then if we take a look at the map, we have a vertical speed required here. So there we go. There's a lot of disagreeing going on. Vertical speed required here is 1,200 feet. And down here, it's telling us that we should start with 2,000 feet per minute to wiggle. But yeah, you know, let's just go with what we have in the UNS and figure it out later. So vertical speeds, and then just move down. So basically, you just, you know, moving this down into the descent position. I'm doing that with a joystick binding to smoothly pitch the aircraft down 2,000 feet per minute. Yeah, wiggle 5,100. That's the same thing that I put in here, right? Wiggle. Oh, because we don't have the approach activated. Of course. Sorry. Yes. Yes. All right. It looked like there's a 3.8 descent in the FMS. Yeah, I figured that one out. So now we have wiggle at 5,100. Enter and save. Okay, now it should go inside. Yes, there we go. Okay, there we go. Cool. Mystery solved. And 3.8 degrees should be fine. Done, it's fine. We are using the FMS to fly the approach, and then we will activate the approach once we are on vectors to final. So I don't need to, you know, move this around. I have a plan in my head that I want to do. Which certainly we don't want to fly the hold at wiggle, so let's see if that's in the flight plan. I don't think it is, because we are not supposed to do a hold there. Yeah, I don't think it says hold, it just goes to Hixar and then the Arn of Yankee. Alright, there we go. Nice view for the passengers over the ocean or down the, well, what you call it, California Basin. There is a bunch of liveries that come with these with the aircraft already. I think it's around, well, don't want to lie, but is it 20? Let's see. 28, if you count the white ones, of course. Yeah, but 26 bespoke liveries, which this is one of. And then there's obviously for the painters, there's a nice paint kit available if you are so inclined. And there's a default white livery. One is a little bit cleaner and one is a little bit more dirty, let's say. Yeah, but really nice. I think there's something for everyone. The official one even has the Spiegelei livery for Lufthansa aviation training. The old one with the yellow Lufthansa logo. And then obviously me and the other painters have been hard at work to already create new ones. For example, the one with the updated Lufthansa aviation training livery, which used to be on Delta India Lima Hotel Echo, which is a CJ1 Plus technically, but you know, for all intents and purposes close enough. Yeah, this is classic US citation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can actually zoom in here, so we can, you know, get rid of some of the confusion. No need to be all the way zoomed out anymore. And we can take a look at the approach, just to brief it a little bit. So we are planning on the RMF Yankee runway 28 left. We are via wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. So this one. And as we talked about before, 5,100 feet, no procedure turn necessary. We just go to Hixar, then IGO, and then Hugon. And from IGO, there should be the LP plus V, and we can try that out. We could couple that, right, with the autopilot if we switch to Nav1 and switch over to the GTNs, and I think that's what we're gonna do. Hey, welcome back, Al. But if we look at the profile, technically it's a 3.6 degree slope down to the runway or down to the missed approach point, or minimum decision altitude, MDA. I always mix those up. Well, I don't mix up the meaning, but you know, one is the decision height, obviously, DH, and then we have a minimum descent altitude, MDA, not minimum decision, minimum descent altitude. We can't go lower than 10,080 feet on the LP. And then we follow the approach at that altitude, and if we can't see the runway at the missed approach point, which is Utuya, then we initiate the go-around. Dan, probably not for the first flight, just because I would technically love to switch to another location still. And without track IR, flying a pattern in a jet that is reasonably fast, I would say, has its challenges, especially if you also want to take a look at chat while you're doing it. But yeah, certainly once the airplane is released, we will do all kinds of flights with it, right? Rest assured that will happen. And depending on the hour, maybe we can just, you know, for the second flight do some pattern work. What about the Mach loop? I'm not sure if it looks that spectacular in X-Plane 12. Probably have to stick to MSFS 24 for the time being. Or maybe there's a good scenery that you can just use. But yeah. Terrain, terrain, terrain. Yeah, I mean, this one will yell at us. The UNS probably as well. I'm not entirely sure about the terrain awareness system with the UNS in this aircraft. But yeah, I certainly want to avoid any cumulus granitus. There's no TAS in the UNS, yeah. Figures. I think if you look at the plugin list, it does use OpenJibWiz from Toto, or libjibwiz. I'm not sure, but I think so. Nice. It's just well, windy, but 90 knots headwind while we're descending. All right. But a nice, calm day. Good weather, should be no problem getting into Monterey. I think there's an option IRL to connect the universal branded TOS computer and have it displayed instead on the UNS-1 display. It looks extremely cursed. Is the airplane able for a cut 2 or 3, I guess, approach? I don't think it's able for cut 3. Isn't cut 3 autoland? I'm not sure what cut 3 constitutes, or if it's the thing with the flight directors, by the way. Dual queue for the folks that, you know, want to enjoy that. It's available. Fight your own wars, belief wars about which one is superior. I'm not gonna say. Cut 2? Good question. I'm not an expert in certification, so I don't know if Amy knows about Cut 2 certification and what, you know, requirements go into that, but say it. Can you pop out the... You can pop out a lot of stuff. You have the pop-ups for the EADI. This. I don't know if there is a borderless version. But yeah, all of these things can be popped out. It's Cat 1 only. Ah, okay. Cool. Hey, jet pipe overheat. Ah, there's one with no bezel, of course. It's in the list. So if you can read, you can figure it out. There we go, right? So yeah, for all these needs, it's available. And also the EHSI is also available, right? If you want that. And then obviously there's pop-outs for the autopilot panel because it might be inconvenient for you to reach down there. So yeah, that's an option. Charlie got category 3, right? Still, I don't know. Maybe. So as we are about to pass through the transition level, let's see, the weather again in Monterey is 3000, 30.00 for the altimeter. We can already do that. Not that big of a difference, 60 feet vertical difference basically. That we are higher than we think or thought before. Cat 3 is auto land mandatory. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I had in mind, thinking about Cat 3. I think that's with a required auto land function. And the thing with the HUD, I didn't know. But correct. Is a lot of extra testing and verification, yeah. Can you do range rings on the UNS? I think you can, but I'm not sure if they show up here. So yeah, this definitely works. You can do range rings. I think that's here with the menu and then fix. And then we can go, for example, XR. So, XR, yeah, it's kind of moot because right now I don't think that it shows anywhere. Does it? Yeah, I don't think it shows here, so. No, you don't think the EDZ 600 can show them, yeah. So you can put them in certainly, but there's no blue ring here. Cut 2 is barely worth doing in a BizJet. Yeah. Use it like once a year. Yeah, when you could just land somewhere else and wait. Yeah, that's true. So you have the option to, at least do this. But yeah, there's no display on the movie map. Alright, what does it say? We are descending a bit too fast now. We are, since we sped up or slowed down, either which way, we probably slowed down a bit. We can arrest our descent a little bit. A bit low. But that's fine. And then we are 16,400 feet, descending 5,100 feet. And taking a look again at our approach, we want to put in the decision height of 830 feet with our radar altimeter, which we can do. And then from XR it's IGEO down 4,100, and then the LP plus V, hopefully on a 3.6 degree glide path. Glide path. And if we are flying a ground speed of 140 knots, that's around 900 feet per minute. In case we go missed, we turn right, climbing in a right turn 6,000 feet and going to the Salinas VOR and holding there. Continue climb and hold 6,000. Sure. The hold is inbound 084, left turns 5 nautical mile legs. But I mean, you be the judge. And then it says here, final approach course is offset by 17 degrees, right? DME, RMP 0.3 not authorized. So yeah, I guess the reception isn't good enough. Helicopter visibility reduction below RVR 4000, not authorized, sure. Pilot controlled lighting on 118.4, which we don't have in the X-Plane 12. Luckily our runway lights are always operational, so. Also single pilot, my personal minimas would be right where the ILS-1 minimas are. Yeah, a bit higher probably. I mean, this is an RNAV approach, so we don't have those minimas here, but yeah, sure. I mean, if you're flying GA, why would you risk your life, right? If it's not absolutely necessary, which it rarely is, you can just not fly. Anyway, 830 on the radar altimeter. We can set that up here. 800 and round about 30, maybe round about here. Sure. And yeah, that's fine. Cool. Plus 2 degrees centigrade, apparently. 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Ja, gut, hat er an. That's an entirely different story, yeah. But technically he wasn't single pilot, right? He also risked the life of another person. And into the clouds we go. We know the MSA, so let's make sure that we are not too far down. But as you can see here, we are in the valley, which is, you know, why they designed this approach this way. So you can be at 5,100. And the MSA for Utuya is 6,300 feet, and that's in a... Well, I'm not sure if this is always 25 nautical miles around the fix. Cirrus clouds are indeed back, yeah. I mean, it just looks nice. It looks fantastic with the cirrus clouds. The high-level clouds really add to the immersion. So let's just maybe first go to 6,300. Which I also have bound to another rotary knob on my joystick, so I don't always have to look down here and twist the small steps with the altitude select knob, which you know, would have to do otherwise. But let's just make sure that we are basically not too far off from wiggle until we descend to 5,100, because we have time. We can descend to 5,100 all the way to Hixar. Well, that's what we're going to do. But now we can actually press home, procedure, and activate the approach. So we actually fly from wiggle to Hixar, IGEO, and then LP plus V down to the runway. Right, there we go. Looks good. Looks good. I don't think we'll be needing anti-ice. 6 degrees, static air temperature, and still rising, but we'll keep an eye out for icing, of course. But yeah, this is gorgeous. I'm not making any radio calls, because this far out, on Watson at least, he would start making those about 30 miles from the airport. And since we're not connected to Pilot Edge right now, no need. 3.6 on the approach, you mean? Or right now? Yeah, the nose is pointed down quite a ways. Oh, actually, sorry. sorry, little jet. 2 knots overspeed. Not certified for the autopilot anymore. But we can actually turn on the fasten seatbelt sign. That's a case of beer, yeah, I guess. Slightly mode enabled. Yeah, that's the danger of going to the wing views, as Toro would say. I mean, he has an emote for those in his Discord for, you know, a particular reason. Always those streamers, you know, giving up operational security for nice views. So let's actually switch over and see how the autopilot fares if we're using the TDS. For that, I will just simply hit the nav button, and we are now in nav 1, which you can see the glide path flag becomes active immediately because we are already on the approach. We are still in nav, we are still altitude select, and this is basically all you need to do, right? There we are, using the GTN for navigation. Depends on who you ask. I remember you next time you are sitting next to me. Yeah. Okay, so we are cloud surfing at this altitude, so let's just go down to 5,100. We know we can. So vertical speed 5,100, vertical speed 800 feet per minute down, and slow down a bit. We are nearing the approach, no need to go this fast. Let's enable the landing lights. Quick look at the checklist, which conveniently I have closed because I showed this weight and balance sheet that I don't really care about right now. So, descent, default systems as required. We use that. The pressurization, yeah, can be set for the airport elevation, which is around sea level, a bit up, 200 feet above maybe. That's fine. Anti-SDS systems are as required. We don't need them. Watch out for some icing, of course. Alright. Then the throttles are as required, of course. The altimeters are set. Obviously, we have 2 of them, so we can set 3000 over here as well. Pardon me. Do that before. The engine synchronization switch can come off, and yeah, now the GTNs are doing all the steering, and with the flight plan being still in sync, that's easy to do. And we are at wiggle at 5100, which is perfect. We can just continue staying at 5100 until Hixar, and then descend down to 4100, and 200 knots is fine. Lights are already on. The V approach is also kind of difficult. Maybe change the MFD display. Yeah, we don't need that anymore, that's true. We can actually go back to this. For an RNP approach, it doesn't really matter a lot, right? But without a map, obviously, this is kind of pointless. So let's just go this. Use this one for the HSI, which is coupled. Give it a little bit more gas now that we've leveled off. There's unfortunately no sync heading bug, so we have to twist it. But yeah, we can do that. Let's just first, enjoy a Toto moment. But as Slatibart would say, you can always spat.next it. But yeah, for us, we actually have to twist. Easy, right? There we go. So yeah, this indication tells us that we do have advisory VNAV that we can follow, but obviously this is technically just advisory. This isn't an approach that you are legal to fly just depending on the, instrumentation and what's shown here. It is an LP plus V, so... Pacman, this is default scenery. The only thing I'm using is... twist like a cage man, yeah. The only thing I'm using is auto ortho. So in that case, no, it's not default scenery because the texturing of the ground is basically satellite imagery that is downloaded via auto ortho, which is comparable, I guess, Pacman, to Orbex or V-States if you have that, but it's just downloaded on the fly. I didn't create any new mesh here, this is just the one that comes with auto ortho, so. But yeah, it looks really nice, I have to say. Especially with the clouds looming next to the mountains. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Insane views, yeah. This is a nice valley to fly down through, right? So yeah, definitely. Well, about to get swallowed up by the clouds, so hey. Yeah, the US always has a bit better information available as a baseline. That's true. Also for the satellite images, right? I mean, this being California, another reason why the quality of the ground textures are even higher fidelity, because it's Bing, it's Google, it's what have you, and they really make sure that this looks as good as it can get. All right, inbound Hixar, and then we can go down to 4,100. 100 indicated is fine. Sure. Coming up, as we know, we have to stay up here. By the way, this vertical track announcement is from the TDS because it knows that this is our top of descent and we programmed it in. So we can go down to 4,100. And I would really recommend you set something up so you don't have to look down, up, because in the real cockpit it's a lot easier to do, And since we are now at Hixar, we can start our descent. Vertical speeds and just VS it down with 500 feet per minute or so to IGEO, or maybe 700 feet per minute. It's not that far away. Slow down a bit. The altimeters are set, that's fine. Monterey traffic, November 525 Papa Delta is inbound Hixar for the RNP Yankee 28 left approach Monterey. Punching through the clouds. It should be scattered at 3,300 and 2,500, so we should be able to see the runway, no problem. Nee, Rufus, wir sind offline unterwegs, aber einfach nur, gehört ja dazu. We do not have GNS steering yet. Let me hit the approach, so we can arm the glide slope to just follow the advisory glide slope. There we are, we have captured it. Okay, some rain, but you know, 9 degrees, that's fine. And now the aircraft will follow the advisory glide path. We will be visual in a moment, so I'm fine with it. And we are above 4,100 still, so I'm doubly fine with it. This is a safe altitude for the approach. And now we can just look outside the window and should be descending below the clouds, and I think this is where we want to go. Yeah. So that's fine. Okay, in case of a misapproach, we want to go to 6,000 feet. The radar altimeter is set, we can slow down quite a lot. And before landing, ignition on. Landing gear, once the speed is okay, will slight overshoot, but that's okay. Use the speed brakes for a bit. We do have speed brakes. Slow below 200 knots, which we are now, so we can lower the landing gear. Speed is checked. Spoiler is up and speed is checked. Flaps. Autopilot off, manual flight. We have the runway and the airport in sight. Gear down, tree green, that's fine. Speed checked, flaps for approach. Speed brakes are retracted, and yeah, all looks good. Runway's in sight, ne, da vorne haben wir sie. Don't get too slow. Ich meine, hinter uns ist jetzt kein Traffic, ne, aber wir müssen jetzt nicht auf 110 Knoten sinken. Es reicht auch, wenn wir hier... Ich mache mal kurz den Approach-Modus aus. Ich brauche den Flight Director nämlich nicht mehr, wir sind ja visual. Und wir haben ja unten unsere Raw Data. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, back to Germans. See, I'm so focused, I just fall back to old habits. Yeah. It's basically task saturation, right? You just do what you're used to. You're looking at the gauges, you're trying to concentrate on what you're doing, looking down at the checklist, looking down at chat. And then suddenly you mutate and you become German. It can happen to you too. Be careful, right? Yeah, I went back to default settings, exactly, Cont. You can see the angle of attack indicator. We're still on the fast side, so that's fine. Factory reset, yeah. And we are landing on 28 left, right? Not to forget. Keine Capriolen. Yeah, Rufus, I'm sorry, I disabled the alerts like I mentioned in the beginning, right? For the first flight. Hey, that's uncalled for. I do the checklists all the time now on the Challenger. Maybe not on the small twin pistons, but, you know, what could go wrong, hey? Yeah, Dan is, yeah, I don't think it's uncommon, right? It's, yeah, it's fairly normal. We are a bit high, so we're correcting. Again, we are Flaps full and the gear is down, we checked that, and we have the runway in sight, and Monterey traffic, November 525 Papa Delta, short final, RNAV 28 left.
500.
Checked. The banana part of the runway end here is a bit, you know, due to the fact that the scenery may be lower resolution than we'd like, but it looks nice anyway. Reached the missed approach point. We still keep flying. I'm not handling that now. Slow down. Trim it a bit. Go idle. A bit too fast, I think, but hey, it's okay. And there we are. Flaps, spoilers, and a little bit of braking. Still very bouncy. And we can actually go back to the... Sorry for that, but it wasn't intentional. Thanks, Fast Joe. No, we have thrust attenuators, and they are working, right? They are attenuating the thrust indeed. But it doesn't have reverses. And if we look outside again, and I move the thrust up a bit, you can see they move back and allow, you know, the engines to push the aircraft forward. So that's how those work. Alright. Flaps up. Let's enable the taxi lights, disable the pitot heat and the strobes, and taxi to parking. Monterey traffic, November 525 Papa Delta, runway 28 left vacated, taxiing to parking. Via Alpha. Now, welcome to Monterey. You can take a look at it in the replay if you'd like. Just park it here next to the very aggressive slope next to the fence. And again, right, Safe Taxi is just a game changer for these kinds of things. It's so enjoyable. You can just take a look at the map, see where's what, and actually have some information, you know, if you want to fly on Pilot Edge or impress the controllers on VATSIM and tell them that you're next to Signature Flight Support, and they're like, where's that? Where the hell is Del Monte Aviation? Don't you guys have charts? Yeah. Okay, let's maybe take a look at the checklist. After landing, flaps are up, ignition goes back to normal. Sure, we can do that. Click, clack. Pitot static heat switches are off, landing and anti-collision lights are off, and taxi lights can come off. The transponder can go to off or standby. Sure, we can do that. And the radar, we didn't have that. We don't have a weather radar yet. That's off. TorqueSim, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I certainly am. Yeah, you can expect this plane to be out on Saturday for anybody that, you know, wants to join the fun. If you guys want, I would still be up to, you know, set the stream back to its normal configuration. Maybe load up into a normal, normal, this is a normal livery. Maybe load up into some of the liveries that are available. We can take a look at those and just shut down the aircraft first, maybe. So let's go into the cockpit and we can also take a look at the replay. You're heading to bed now, Mr. Nick Fire. Thanks for stopping by. Could get used to it. Well, well. Alright, so for shutting down, parking brake is set. The wheels are not yet chocked. I don't know why I would chock the wheels before shutting down the engines. Let's just keep the parking brake set for now. I mean, the checklist says it, so it must be true. So air conditioning is off, flaps are up, standby gyro switch goes to the off position. And we can cage this, pull to cage. Passenger advisory switch. Did we already push that to off? No, now it is. Avionics power and AC inverter switch are... That's for a shutdown, okay, interesting. I guess it happens before, so we turn this to off. and this to off. There we go. The throttles can go to the off position. Before we do that, by the way, look at the replay. I will show you one thing that I've always enjoyed about this aircraft since it was implemented, and it was also showcased in the video. It's just the amazing engine startup effect that I just love. It's so cool. I don't know, by the way, if we have a control lock that we could engage or not. Don't know if that's implemented. But yeah, next thing would be a beacon light or beacon light off and battery switch off. But I won't be doing that because it isn't Aviator. It is for today because we are showcasing the TorqueSim 525. And hello. Well, that's just explained for you. And it's just better for, you know, streams like these to be for an international audience. So usually the channel will be back with German language. But anybody who sticks around, Conti knows, you're more than welcome to ask any English questions, right? So that's never a problem. For what I want to show you guys, let's switch it away from lifetime. This was lifetime live weather, and have it approach sunset. So move the sun away. There we go. Welcome at night, sort of ish. I mean, we picked the brightest part of the airport to show this, but hey, anyway. So if we are in the cockpit, right? We just leave everything on. We can just start the engines up again. And my favorite effect about this entire aircraft, it just looks so nice, is, well, this is nice, but if we start the engines, and then introduce fuel, oh. It's just such a nice effect. Together with the sounds, it's just amazing looking. I know it's sort of gimmicky, and who knows if it's realistic or not, I'm not sure. Who cares? It just looks amazing, and it's just a whole different vibe. Yeah, it's a very nice detail. Yeah. Oh, I clicked for the cones. Thank you. Well, anyway. Let's shut that off again. It's very nice. It looks very nice, I have to say. Let's make it daylight again so we can show the landing. Who put that cone there? Well, I guess it was me. Sorry for that. So the only thing left to do for me is, after doing all that, basically battery power switch to off. And yeah, a BMW, I mean, this is after all sort of a German stream, so it's only befitting that a BMW would sneak up on us. Is coming to pick up the passengers and rip off the left wing. That's fine. We don't need that anymore anyway. Yeah, the hot start BMW is sneaking up on us, exactly. So if you don't want to find the click spots, there's always the way to do this, right? Click, click. And by the way, one thing that is kind of funny. If you turn the aircraft off, the pilots stay inside for now. Maybe that will happen, you know, in the future, that they will get removed. But what is funny is you can also put over a cockpit cover, you know, to really make the aircraft go to sleep. As part of the Take Command series, it has to be realistic, yeah. The sleepy citation, yeah. Or if you want to emulate the car in winter that is in your driveway, you can put a windscreen cover in here. Or, you know, in the summer, if you want to keep the heat out, that's also an option for you. But let's actually take a look at the replay, right? It was a nice approach, so let's do that. X-plane replay has been fairly stable. Right, this was while we were rolling out, still with the flaps. Oh, okay, this is a bit too far away. There we go. Let's give X-plane a moment to recombobulate. There we are. I mean, we were already fairly slow in this part of the approach, but the airport is in sight, right? No need to win any racing points. And the banana at the end of the aircraft, at the end of the runway is a bit disconcerting. Yes, this is still auto. Sorry, no point. What did I say? No point in going fast. Oh, sorry, Slutty. For some people, there's always a point in going fast. Obviously. Yeah, but Al is exactly right. This is a slowtation, so, you know. Get with the times, get with the program. Fly it according to specs. Is this out yet? It will be out on Saturday. And if you want, I was just asked if I wanted to include 1 or 2 liveries with the release of the aircraft, liveries that I created. Then we can just showcase some of the liveries together. You can pick whichever ones you like. I don't know how we're going to do a vote with 83 people and over 10 liveries to choose from. But maybe we can figure something out. Just, you know, take a look at the liveries that are available. And you guys just tell me which ones. Let's just pick 2 and send them over to Steven so they can include them in the release. So we can, as a community, be part of the release. That would be fun, I think. There we are. Idle. Yeah, I can do a poll, but, you know... oh, I guess I can do a multiple entry poll, right? You can vote for multiple options. And we just pick rank 1 and 2. And there we are. I think that was an okay landing, right? Let's take a look at that again. Whoop. Okay, doing explain things, just loading a bit. So 17 degrees offset, and then we are coming in with the landing lights and everything configured. And on Saturday, you too can be a real simulator citation pilot. Looking forward to it. Thrust attenuators, engage. Nice. Yeah, bouncy runway. But you can hear the sounds are amazing, right? The tires screeching, everything. They really went into a lot of detail when it comes to modeling the sounds and how the aircraft feels. So yeah, it's really nice, I think. Right, there we are. Let's maybe pick something where, you know, we have some daylight. Yeah, I probably switch the weather to something more agreeable. Can you see the cockpit? Of course you can. Let's just make sure. Yeah, this works, right? This probably works. I will just move it around a bit. I just noticed the static elements are still missing. That might be a thing after the replay, because we definitely set those. But yeah, let's turn this around so we have a nice lean on the aircraft. Oh, don't roll away. Ah, this must be a replay thing, so all right. Stationary again. The cockpit, sure, GHP. We showed this off during the entirety of the stream, so if you don't mind, take a look at the VOD. This is what it looks like. And actually, we can still show this. I will maybe keep the GNS flight for the next stream. I think that will be after... I know that there's an upcoming stream after me. I'm not sure if I want to interfere with any of that. So we'll just see what they do. And then after that, we can surely, after it's released on Saturday anyway, stream it to our heart's content. But I'm sure Coop, Cam, and everybody else involved, Stephen, will want to have focus on the other citation stream that's coming up. But yeah, we can actually... There's a fair chance of a 5:30 stream. Yeah, we can actually do this, right? The GNS 530, this is another option. We are in Monterey, GHP. Kilo Mike Romeo Yankee on the Californian coast. So this is the nice looking 3D model for the GNS. They also work, right? The cam rotating R isn't what I want to do, because I can show you why I didn't. Anyway, right, we have this, or the standard avionics. If you want to go real old school, we have just the radio panel with the transponders and the UNS. It's a very fun way to fly as well. You know, you have the basic map down here. You don't have traffic, but everything else is working nicely. And then obviously we also have the GTN750, which you might notice the bezel is slightly different. It has the home button up here, right? Slightly different coloring. And then obviously we were using these ones, the GTN units, which have a different layout. So anybody who looked at the screenshots that were posted with turned off avionics and maybe caught a glimpse of this already had a clue about, what was going to happen, which is, a GTN750Xi, which isn't available from Reality XP. And to answer your question, I didn't do that because if I rotate the camera this way, the sun is coming from the side, lighting up the aircraft in a different way than just rotating the rotating the camera to the other side. So that's the reason why I didn't do that, right? Because I wanna have some light on the side of the aircraft. Anyway, let's take a look. It's an artist thing. Oh yeah, okay, sure. So I don't want to bore you too much. Maybe, we can just take a look at a few liveries and then put up a poll, and then you can decide which one we want to send to Steven. So there's quite a few to choose from. Don't mind the preview images, but all the ones here at the bottom are the ones that we have available. I would take screenshots once we load them in, so you don't have to remember all of them. So we can, just show them now in Sim and then take a look at them afterwards. So we have Charlie Foxtrot India Alpha Sierra. Loading them also doesn't take very long, so it should be fine. I say, while it's still loading a long time. Anyway, so this is the one that Pilsner will be voting for because it is a Canadian livery with a small Canadian flag up here, right? Let me just hide my webcam. There we go. So a nice blue one with a Canadian flag. I took a screenshot so we can just compare them afterwards. Then we have Charlie Girl. Correct. This is the only correct flag that should be put on an aircraft, right, Pilsner? I think the problem is we should go to a different airport. Where's the Australian livery? There is one. I did create one, I think. So there's this one. There's Hey Girl, the Hey Girl livery. There's Didats, which is a fairly simple one. I think Dan suggested we create this one because it's, I think Star Trek is a call sign for a German GA carrier. I think, I'm not sure, but it's this one. I think one of these is also already included. So maybe we don't vote for this one because I think a very similar one is also already coming in with the aircraft by default. I think I accidentally picked one that was already painted when I looked for cool liveries for the CitationJet. We have this one. And let me know if this is boring to read in the chat, right? Then I will just tell you to come back next time. Yeah. Excellent Air, which is a carrier that is also, I mean, you might notice a bias for German-ish liveries, but anyway. We have the rookie livery, of course, Sladibart. Loading. There it is. The European Flight Academy with the blue paint and the modern logo. Obviously, it's there for anybody who likes it. I know, I mean, I have a lot of German viewers in the audience, so this might be a biased vote, but anyway. We are almost through Rookie 42 coming back. There must be an Air Conti livery somewhere. Well, Conti hasn't requested one yet, so you can certainly get one. That was a great. Okay, I see. This is the one that has a slight metallic effect on it. Delta India Mike Hotel Alpha. It is also, well, it's basically green. You can't really see it in this light, but you know, this is a dark green, a metallic livery. Papa Tango Oscar. This is a rookie call sign livery, the one for the flight school that was operated by Lufthansa. Papa Tango Oscar is the call sign. They constantly fly over the northeast of Germany. You might see them on the radar screen. Then we have this one, November 3 Charlie Juliet, which is still loading in, which is inspired by the Gen 3 CitationJet. There we go. Now it's loaded. Note to laminar research promo, make it possible to pop out the plane icon from the menu to more or less screen-filling size. Toothpaste color, yeah, sort. But it does look like it in the real plane. Let me save this to here. Nice detail. Obviously, it has to be inverted where the white lines are. So we're 3 Charlie Juliet. All right. Another silver one. Maybe you already jot down the one you like, right? If you see one that you really like, because I will be showing the screenshots later on. This is also a silver one, red accents and black wings. This one is called 617 Alpha Bravo. Then we have this one, 866 Charlie Bravo. Yeah, just jot that down and we can put it in the vote. This one, also a simpler-ish one, but you know, it has a vibe going for it. 866 Charlie Bravo. And by the way, this CitationJet emblem, it's optional. We can remove it, right? It doesn't have to be there on the released version. It's just when I created these liveries, it was there by default, and for some liveries I left it there. Oscar Echo Foxtrot India India. Austrian liveries represent. It's basically a gray tube. Oida. Yeah, it's a silverish gray livery with a white stripe on the side and Austrian flag. Had to be represented, of course. This one is a bit more exotic, also an Austrian livery. Well, obviously they are organized alphabetically, so Oscar Echo is up next. I think this is called Sparrow. The airline has a call sign of Sparrow or something similar. It was quite painful to paint, as you can imagine, because I had to create the Sparrow from scratch. There's also a pink version of this. It's basically an Angry Birds livery, exactly, yeah. Der Dude, sorry, dem Dude, seine Luise. Thanks for stopping by. I have to work tomorrow as well, so... Good night, thanks. Oi-Jet, which has a funny history to it, which I didn't know when I started painting this jet. This one basically took a little dive. Nobody was hurt, but it basically went too far off the wrong end of the runway into water, I think. And now the owner has a different jet, a bigger one, with the same kind of paint job on it. So that's fun. And then Proud is new. It's one I created when, you know, we were shortly coming up to release, and I thought the call sign was funny. And the registration, of course, can be customizable, right? We don't have to bake one in. Yeah, that really has an 80s vibe. Let's load and let's wait for the textures to load. There we go. So we have Proud, which also has under the wings. We can't really see it, and it can't really go any lower, but believe me, under the wings there's also the PR-OUD, as it's supposed to. And then finally, for the ones I have in the sim anyway, because I created more, but they're not in the sim yet, we have this one. And you have to ignore this. I didn't remove the corporate registration folder. So this is the kind of registration you can put on there by default. Basically, it's just this white one, right? This doesn't exist on the normal version of the plane. But yeah, this is the last one in the showcase. So let me just create a poll. And I can show the pictures next to the poll while we're deciding. But there's a bit of typing that I have to do now. Actually, I can just use the folder probably and just copy the names from there. Aircraft. Whoops. Aircraft. Boop, 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 boop. Liveries. There we go. And I can just copy that. Tough choice. Well, you have to make one. So, okay. So poll. Let me see if I can have enough options. Responses, minimum of 2. Can I create more responses? Well, that's great. I can't. I guess we have to do a straw poll. So let's do that. We just have 5 options if we do it with the Twitch tool. So let's choose this. So which livery to include? Best of 2. It's a multiple choice, sure, and we need a couple of options. So let's just put this here and put this here. And then we have this. Let me just go ahead and put the PD in front. I guess you can, you know, just don't want to remove it for each and every one of these. Dup, 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 dup. A lot of options. Man, did I paint a lot of liveries. I hope you noted down something that you liked, but I will show the liveries again while we are voting. So if you missed out, you can certainly... Okay, multiple options. You can choose 2 of them, I think. Or do you think that's not a good idea? Ah, you can choose any which ones you like. You don't have to put in the names, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what all that is. Anyway. Okay, there's the link. And while we do that, let me just open up the output folder from Explain 2 so we can see again which liveries you can choose from. Output, Explain, screenshots, there we go. Do I have to start it? I think I have to start it, right? No, I can click here. Ah, there we go. Okay, cool. Let's just vote for this to load and then wait for this to load, and then maybe you already know what you don't want, right? So it's just annoyingly slow because I have a lot of screenshots. And yes, this was from the beta test of the 777. I haven't really flown it since, but hey. There we go. And let's make it bigger. And can we do it even bigger? Not really. But anyway, these are the options. So let me just go through them like this again. We have Y. We have Proud. We have the Oi-Jet. We have the Sparrow, Oscar Echo, Foxtrot, Romeo, Juliet. We have Oscar Echo, Foxtrot, India, India. We have November 866, Charlie Bravo. We have November 617, Alpha Bravo. Which is this one, November 617, Alpha Bravo. It just doesn't say on the screenshot, so I'm mentioning it again. We have November 3, Charlie Juliet, which is the toothpaste livery, as Conti calls it lovingly. Okay. We have Delta India Mike Hotel Alpha, which is silvery with this green accent line on the bottom. We have Delta India Lima Hotel Echo, which is the rookie livery, right? Rookie 1-1. All right, Al, take care. Thanks for stopping by. Then we have Delta India Echo Kilo Uniform, the excellent air livery, and Austin's vegan food truck snuck into the screenshot, of course. Why not? We have, I think this is DDATS, Delta India, Delta Alpha Zulu. We have Charlie Girl, Charlie Golf India Romeo Lima. We have Charlie Foxtrot India Alpha Sierra, which is the Canadian one. And I think it's the one with, yeah, the only one with the Canadian flag. And then that's it. So yeah, I will give it a couple of more minutes. Maybe just slowly browse through the screenshots again, and then you can just pick which ones you like. So please don't try to cheat. If you are able to and find a way to cast multiple votes, please don't, because that would be annoying. But yeah, these are the ones that we can choose. Austin's vegan food truck, always in the picture somehow. I don't know how he does it, but yeah. The rookie livery. Imha. Toothpaste. (617) Alpha Bravo. 866 Charlie Bravo. And the Oscar Echo Foxtrot India. And the Sparrow livery, Foxtrot Romeo Juliet. And then Oi-Jet. Oi. Proud. And your why. All right. And that doesn't mean that the other liveries won't be made available, right? So for anybody that didn't win today, the other liveries I will just upload to xpilot.com. It's just about the ones that we want to gift, let's say, to TorqueSim to include with the release of the aircraft. All right, we have a tiebreaker between 617 Alpha Bravo and Oscar Echo Foxtrot India. I will just take a screenshot of the results as they are now. And this should be the results. As we have a tiebreaker, I can just ask Steven if you can just include them both. So we have 3 liveries that, you know, he can include if he likes. And then we have a fair result. Cool. So we have the rookie livery with the most votes. And let me just save this somewhere that I can lose it. Okay, there we go. And there we are. Can we get a close free cam flyby of the fuselage and tail? All the detail there tends to get lost in the video compression otherwise. I'm sure we can. Slow is relative. Let me just do this. Then I can go slow. We can do this, and then I will call it a night for today. I have to go to work tomorrow, unfortunately. So, but yeah, there's lots of high detail screenshots also available. But yeah, this is the fuselage with the chocks, right? The windows, doors with the decals. Excuse the weird camera glitchiness that X-Plane produces. And then we have the engines. Also very nicely done. I mean, I keep repeating myself, but they are. And then, yeah, next to, you know, the double registration that you can just ignore, we have the thrust attenuators and everything that, you know, is attached to the tail. Nice little detail also in the specularity. And then here we are. I hope that satisfies your desire to get a slow flyby. And that's the TorqueSim C525. Very cool. All right. There I am again. I hope you enjoyed this stream. I'm sure we will see more of this aircraft over the weekend and in the coming days. I don't know if you already announced, if TorqueSim is still here, who's going to be the next person to stream the aircraft. It will be at the same link that you saw the link for this one, right? TorqueSim.com/livestream. So, Flightwuzel, glad to hear it. Yeah. If you're planning on getting it, I'm happy, you know, that this could convince you. I like the aircraft. I would recommend it. And see you guys next time. The next planned stream is tomorrow, but tomorrow we will not be flying this aircraft. We will be flying the Seminole, the PA-44, which gets released tomorrow. So if you're interested in GA planes and multi-engine pistons, stop by if you like. Thanks for the support tonight, especially without the alerts, and see you guys next time. Bye.